Bonjour, French 1 students. This is Mrs. Krumschreider, and here's your teaching video for Lesson 9, A, B, et C. Okay, pages 134 to 143 in your textbook. S'il vous plaît, ouvrez vos livres à la page 134. Unité 4. Le monde personnel et familier. Leçon 9. Le français pratique, les personnes et les objets. Leçon 10, Vive la différence. Leçon 11, Le copain de Myriel. Leçon 12, La voiture de Roger. Remember, each unit in your textbook is divided into 4 units, and you'll have a quiz at the end of each lesson, and then a test at the end of each unit. In French 1B, we will do units 4 and units 5 in your textbook. Thème et objectif, people and possessions. When you meet French teenagers, you will want to share information about yourself, your friends, and your possessions. In this unit, you will learn to talk about yourself, your personality, and what you look like, to describe your friends and how old they are, to describe your room, to talk about everyday objects that you own or use, to describe these objects, their size and color. So, Leçon 9, les personnes et les objets, so people and objects. Accent sur les gens français, so accent on young French people. France is a young country. 1/4 of the population is under the age of 20. In their daily lives outside school, young people in France are not that different from their counterparts in the United States. They enjoy listening to music and going to the movies. On weekends, they go to the mall or into the city to check out the newest teen fashions and the latest in video games and sound equipment. As computers become more and more widespread, French young people often spend their free time surfing the internet and participating in chat rooms and forums. Since almost everyone studies English in school, French teenagers are very much aware of the American way of life. They have a generally positive attitude towards the United States, and many would like to visit our country. So remember, our book is old, right? It has a 2004 or so copyright. So when they talk about here, the idea that the internet becomes more widespread, right? They're going to have the internet everywhere like we do now. So basically what they're saying in that first paragraph is French teenagers are just like American teenagers. They like to do the same kinds of things with their free time and with their friends. So there's not a big difference between what French and American teenagers do. The second paragraph is about the fact that, again, French people typically have learned English as part of their education, and generally most of them do speak English and understand English pretty well. And again, because they already speak English, the United States is a country that they oftentimes want to visit. So looking at the pictures on the pages in your book, we have Thomas a un vélo. C'est un vélo anglais. Michel n'a pas de vélo. Elle a un scooter. So Thomas has a bike. It's an English bike. Michelle does not have a bike. She has a scooter. Elodie et Paul font une promenade en ville. Paul a un baladeur. Il écoute un CD. Elodie a un portable. Elle téléphone à une copine. So Elodie and Paul are going for a walk in town. Paul has a personal CD player. He listens to a CD. Elodie has a cell phone. She calls a friend, and that friend is female because it's une copine. Jean-Marc et Valérie sont devant un magasin d'équipement hi-fi. Ils regardent des mini-chaînes. So Jean-Marc and Valerie are in front of like video and stereo equipment store. They are looking at personal stereos. Zania a un ordinateur. Elle surfe sur l'internet. Elle aime aussi jouer aux jeux vidéo or aux jeux d'ordinateur avec Uzam. So Zania has a computer. She surfs the internet. She also likes to play computer games with Uzam. So this lesson really is introducing you to adjectives. And again, adjectives are words that you use to describe people. So we're going to start by talking about some ways to describe someone. Specifically, there are sometimes different words you use in French for things that are masculine and feminine. Remember, we talked about that in French 1A, that all nouns in French are masculine or feminine. And so sometimes that affects how you ask questions and how you answer them. So we have qui est? C'est un copain. Comment s'appelle-t-il? Il s'appelle Marc. Quel âge a-t-il? Il a 16 ans. Comment est-il? Il est petit. Il est blond. So qui est is who is it? It's a friend, a male friend, because we see un. How does he call himself, right? Or what is his name? Il s'appelle Marc. His name is Marc. How old is he? He is 16 years old. And this is asking how is he, like asking about what does he look like? He's short. He has blonde hair. Now, a little bit of this changes when instead of describing a male person, we're describing a female person. So we have qui est? C'est une copine. Comment s'appelle-t-elle? Elle s'appelle Sophie. Quel âge a-t-elle? Elle a 15 ans. Comment est-elle? Elle est grande. Elle est brune. So again, we have who is it? It's a friend, a female friend because it's une. How does she call herself, or what is her name? Elle s'appelle Sophie. Her name is Sophie. Quel âge a-t-elle? How old is she? Elle a 15 ans. She's 15. Comment est-elle? Like, what does she look like? Elle est grande. She is tall. Elle est brune. She has dark hair. So again, we see a little bit of differences in the way we do things, right? Here we have il. Here we have elle. We have elle s'appelle. And we have il s'appelle. Quel âge a-t-il? And quel âge a-t-elle? And elle a versus il a. And then comment est-il? And il, because we're talking about a male person. And now we're talking about female, so it's elle, and elle. Okay, so again, we just have different words, just like we really do in English, right? For he and she, same thing is true in French. Next, we have some vocabulary related to people. Remember, the first lesson in every unit is the lesson that's full of lots and lots of new vocabulary. You're going to use this vocabulary all throughout the unit, so it is important that you're familiar with this vocabulary. And again, we see two columns here because we have a masculine column and a feminine column. And again, we can tell that with, that's not a very good example. That one's kind of noticed in both of them. But we have un, right, and un. And again, remember that's our indication. It's masculine and une as our indication that the words are feminine. Une personne is kind of an oddity, and that's mentioned down here because it says une personne is always feminine, whether it refers to a male or female person. So the word person in French is feminine, whether you're talking about a male or a female person. And then also, un professeur is also a bit of an oddity because un professeur is always masculine, whether it refers to a male or female teacher. However, in casual French, one distinguishes between un prof, a male teacher, and une prof, a female teacher. So, s'il vous plaît, répétez les personnes, une personne, un étudiant, un élève, un camarade, un homme, un professeur, un prof, un voisin, Again, those were, for the most part, other than une personne, nouns that refer to male people. So now on to nouns that refer to female or are feminine forms. S'il vous plaît, répétez une personne, une étudiante, un élève, un camarade, une femme, un professeur, un prof, une voisine, So again, just the differences here, some vocabulary related to people, okay? And again, just remembering that une personne is always feminine, whether it's male or female person, and un professeur is always masculine, whether it's a male or female teacher. So, because we are describing people, part of what we might be able to describe is what they physically look like. In this one, notice that the girl is thinking about a boy. So this top row here, right, these are all the masculine forms of these adjectives. And in this bottom row, these are the feminine forms. And again, in French, because nouns are masculine and feminine, adjectives, which are describing words, also have masculine and feminine forms. Again, you see here, some of them are the same. For example, Jean and Jeanne, right? Though Jean and Jeanne, they don't change. They're exactly the same. But many of them change a little bit. For the most part, most of these, you add an E to the masculine form to make it feminine. And many of them sound different. So this first time, I just want you to listen for the difference in the pronunciation. So we have grand, grande, petit, petite, brun, brune, blond, blonde, beau, belle, jolie, jeune, jeune. So this time I'd like you to repeat them after me. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Grand, grand, grande, grande. Petit, petit, petite, petite. Brun, brun, brune, brune. Blond, blond, blonde, blonde. Beau, beau, belle, belle. Jolie, jolie. Jeune, 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 jeune. So again, the top row here, these are our masculine adjectives, and this bottom row here, these are our feminine adjectives. And again, for the most part, most of them become feminine by adding an E to the masculine form. Again, lots of new vocabulary in this lesson. Next, we're talking about les objets, which are objects. First off, how to identify something. We have qu'est-ce que c'est and c'est. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est. C'est. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est un livre. So what is it? It's a book. How to say you know or do not know something. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Je sais. Je sais. Je ne sais pas. Je ne sais pas. How to point out something. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Regarde ça. Regarde ça. Quoi? Quoi? Ça là-bas. Ça là-bas. And so here are some things that you might point out. Quelques objets, a few objects. Again, notice that the kind of top set of them are masculine nouns. And down here we have the feminine nouns. Again, we can tell they're masculine and feminine by the en versus the une for the introduction of them. Or the article. So, s'il vous plaît, répétez un objet, un stylo, un crayon, un téléphone, un livre, un cahier, un sac, une chose, une montre, une raquette, une guitare, une affiche, un poster, une calculatrice, And then we see the little rappel, which means this is something you've learned before and they're just reviewing it for you. In French, the names of objects are masculine or feminine. Masculine objects can be introduced by un or le, un stylo, le stylo, l'objet. Feminine objects can be introduced by une or la, or l'apostrophe. Une montre, l'affiche. So again, reviewing what we've previously learned, right? Our articles. And we have masculine and feminine forms of our articles which kind of match the fact that we have masculine and feminine nouns. So the definite masculine article is le, and the feminine one is la. And then remember, both of these become l'apostrophe before a vowel or a silent H. The indefinite masculine is un, and the feminine one is une. And again, those don't change at all depending upon the noun. And they mean a or an. The masculine subject pronoun is il, which means he, or if we're replacing an object, it can mean it. And the feminine one is elle. S'il vous plaît, répétez le, la, un, une, il, elle. So again, this is kind of a review. This is information you had learned previously in Units 1, 2, and 3 in your book. So let's take a look at exercise 3, qu'est-ce que c'est? Ask a classmate to identify the following objects. Look at our example prompt, right? We see a picture of a pen. So we have, qu'est-ce que c'est un stylo. So I'm going to help you out a little bit. I would like this to be a speaking one, even if you're at home. I'm going to ask you the question part of this. So I'm going to ask you the qu'est-ce que c'est, like what is this? And you're going to answer. The part of your answer is going to stay the same every time is say. In this case, it was un stylo because stylo is masculine. Okay. So, numéro 1. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est un téléphone. 2. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est une affiche. 3. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est une guitare. Numéro 4. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est une raquette. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est un sac. And again, lots of new vocabulary in this lesson. Les affaires personnelles, personal belongings. How to talk about things you have. We have est-ce que tu as? And oui, j'ai. Est-ce que tu as is asking, do you have? And oui, j'ai is your way to say, yes, I have. S'il vous plaît, répétez est-ce que tu as? Est-ce que tu as? Est-ce que tu as? Est-ce que tu as une moto? Oui, j'ai. Oui, j'ai. Oui, j'ai. Oui, j'ai une moto. So that's asking, do you have a motorcycle? Yes, I have a motorcycle. But I don't. I don't have a motorcycle. All right, quelques objets, some more vocabulary of objects. And again, your book's kind of pointing out that these are our masculine ones. Okay, and then these are our feminine ones. And again, for the most part, although there's a couple that are kind of, right, here's a feminine one, right, that kind of could go down here. Here's another feminine one, okay? And there's a couple masculine ones here, right, like en scooter and en vélo that could go up there. So remember, if we see our masculine, we know it's an en, and we know it's feminine if we see the un. And just to make sure you can tell what these all are, right, as we need to know what they are. So we have un portable, okay, which is a cell phone. Un appareil photo, which is a camera. Un baladeur, which is a portable CD player. Un CD, which is a CD. Un télé, which is a TV set. Un DVD, which is a DVD. Un cassette video, which is a videotape. Un ordinateur, which is a computer. Un radio, which is a radio. Un radio cassette, which is a boom box, something from the 80s. If your parents or grandparents lived through the 80s, they might know what a boom box is. Okay. Un chaîne hi-fi, which is a stereo set. Un mini chaîne, which is a compact stereo. Un voiture, which is a car. Un auto is another word for car. Un vélo, which is a bicycle or bike. Un bicyclette is a bicycle. Un mobilette is a motorbike or a moped. Un scooter is a scooter, okay, like a motor scooter. And un moto is a motorcycle. And again, the difference between a moped and a scooter, besides kind of what you can kind of tell from the picture of seating, typically a moped, you have to turn some pedals, like bike pedals, to get the engine to start. Whereas on unscooter, typically they have like a key ignition that you turn on to start the scooter. So, s'il vous plaît, répétez un portable, un appareil photo, un baladeur, un CD, un télé, un DVD, un cassette video, un ordinateur, un radio, un radio cassette, un chaîne hi-fi, un mini chaîne, une voiture, un auto, un vélo,
you have an extra mouse pad.
un vélo, une bicyclette, une mobilette, un scooter, un moto. So again, lots of new vocabulary in this lesson. We also see how to ask if an object works. We have est-ce que la radio marche? Does the radio work? And oui, elle marche. Now, in this one again, the reason for the L is because radio is feminine, and so we're going to replace it with L. So, s'il vous plaît, répétez. Est-ce que la radio marche? Oui, elle marche. The verb marcher has two meanings when you're talking about it for people. It means to walk, and for things, it means to work or to run. So, nous marchons means we are walking. Le scooter ne marche pas bien means the scooter doesn't work or run well. So this is a good chance to review regular ER verbs, which you learned to conjugate in French 1A. Remember this form here, this is called the infinitive. This is the form that would be on a vocabulary list. This is the form you would find in a dictionary. Again, to our infinitive, we take off our ER, and that gives us our stem. And remember, we're going to see that stem in all of the forms of our verb. So we're going to have that march in every single form of the verb here. And then we add to that depending upon the ending, the subject, right? So when it's je, we added e. For tu, we added es. For il or el singular, we added e. For nous, we add ons. For vous, we add ez. And for il and el pluriel, we add ent. Right, so we add the e, the es, the e, the ons, the ez, and the ent. Now, in terms of pronunciations, remember that there are only 3 pronunciations. The forms in the moot all sound the same. And then the vous or the infinitive form and the vous form sound the same. S'il vous plaît, répétez marcher, je marche, tu marches, il marche, nous marchons, vous marchez, il marche. So again, just kind of reminder, this is a good chance to review, okay, conjugations of regular ER verbs. This repel up here, we already talked about as well, right? Masculine nouns can be replaced by il, le vélo marche, il marche bien. So the bike works, it works well. Feminine nouns can be replaced by elle, la voiture marche, elle marche bien. The car works, it works well, referring to the car. All right, take a look at exercise 8. Est-ce qu'il marche bien? Does it work well? Tell your classmates that you own the following objects. They will ask you if the objects are working. Answer according to the illustrations. So look at the first one. J'ai un vélo. Est-ce qu'il marche bien? No, il ne marche pas bien. This is il because this is un. The second example, j'ai une télé. Est-ce qu'elle marche bien? Oui, elle marche très bien. This is elle because that's an une. So, when you're doing these, right, the j'ai stays the same every time. The est que stays the same, and then it'll be il if it's noun is masculine, if it's an un, and elle if the noun is feminine. And then if it doesn't work, it'll be no, ne marche pas bien, and if it does, it'll be oui, marche bien. And again, notice, right, we had il and we have il again, we have elle. So I would like this to be a speaking one. I know it's kind of hard to do, but I'll give you a chance to come up with the 3 lines for number 1, which is a camera. J'ai un appareil photo. Est-ce qu'il marche bien? No, il ne marche pas bien. 2. J'ai un scooter. Est-ce qu'il marche bien? Oui, il marche très bien. Toi. J'ai une chaîne hi-fi. Est-ce qu'elle marche bien? Oui, elle marche très bien. 4. J'ai une mobilette. Est-ce qu'elle marche bien? Non, elle ne marche pas bien. 5. J'ai une radio. Est-ce qu'elle marche bien? Oui, elle marche très bien. 6. J'ai une montre. Est-ce qu'elle marche bien? No, elle ne marche pas bien. So your homework on page 141 is exercise 3. We did this one out loud. I do want you to write both the question and the answer on your paper. So for number 1, you would write qu'est-ce que, say, and because it's a telephone, you'd say c'est un téléphone. So that's what you're going to write out for each of these. The qu'est-ce que say part and the say, right? The qu'est-ce que say and say stays the same every time. Hopefully by the time you write it 5 times, you're going to know how to spell it. Exercice 8, we just did this one out loud. Okay. Again, I want you to write out the whole thing. So all 3 lines. So for number 1, we have j'ai un appareil photo. And you don't have to put them each on different lines. Now, because this is un, I'm going to use an il, so it's est qu'il marche bien. And definitely the camera is broken there, so then it's no. Il again, because un appareil photo is masculine. Ne marche pas bien. Right, so remember the parts of this that are going to stay the same every time are j'ai and the est que. This time it was il because this was un appareil photo. If it's an un here, then this would become an L. Okay? The marche bien stays the same though. And again, if the answer is no, most of this will stay the same, although this could change. Okay? If it does work well, then it'll be like this example. Okay? So you're writing that out for the 6 of those. Au revoir, à demain.